Hi, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Wonder Snatch. Back to filming one of these, get ready with me. And today, we're actually going to watch the Barbie movie. So I'm going to do a quick dive into Barbie and why, we are so obsessed with her. And get into one of this, a very classic Wonder Snatch Barbie look to go to the premiere, alright? And I'm going to take you with me on the premiere and give some thoughts about what the movie is about. I haven't seen it yet. So if that's something you see, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and ring that bell for post notifications. And I'll see you in a bit. Alright, I'm back. Brows are gone, got my sweatproof on. Alright, so today I don't have much time, only have about less than 2 hours to get ready. I'm gonna go for a rounded look, okay? But this first Barbie, this vintage Barbie was actually quite cunty looking, so maybe I'll do a bit of a lift there. Okay, but I'm gonna get some foundation on now. And I'm also gonna try to use some of my new stuff. I have this new cosmetic paints by Mitchell. Okay, I'm gonna use some of these blues for the lid. Okay, and my new Rick and Morty Glamlite palette. A lot of very neon colors here. I think really good for this Barbie look. Alright, so Barbie. I think everyone knows about the doll. And I did do a video on dolls before for Snatchery a couple of years ago. Basically about how dolls are something that really reflects society, and it's true. So Barbie, I've heard some interviews where historians actually say that, dolls, this feminine totem thing is not something that's new, okay? It's been throughout the ages. People have had things like fertility artifacts and stuff like that to represent the feminine form, okay? And dolls, especially in modern society, has been used to like socialize girls, okay? Teach them like social rituals like, motherhood and stuff like that. And it kind of like reflects society in a very exaggerated way, and a lot like drag, right? So I think that's why so many drag queens gravitate towards dolls. And this is doing something weird with my foundation today because I am doing a TikTok. We're trying some of my new Moira Cosmetics foundation. So Barbie, of course, is known as a fashion doll. It was really made as a high fashion doll, okay? But dolls are actually used for fashion for a very long time. France apparently used dolls to promote fashion, okay, French fashion, as early as, the 14th century. Okay, and it was this way for, I think, about 300 years, until the late 18th century, that's when they started to move more towards like magazines and journals and stuff like that, fashion journals. But otherwise, the French were huge into dolls, okay, to export and to communicate their fashion choices and stuff at that time. Around Europe in the 1800s, dolls started to have more character. They started looking more character and looking more baby dollish with very rounded features and more characterful faces, less fashiony, and this was a backlash to the French way of thinking, because they thought the French was too obsessed with luxury and fashion, so the Germans decided to go this character way instead. So when America came along in the 1900s, when they first started having dolls, they were actually marketed towards more of the middle class, whereas in Europe, most of the dolls were marketed to rich people, and they took more inspiration from the German dolls. So, okay, so these dolls were, the faces were rounder and much more baby doll-like. And this was, of course, quite emblematic at the time. The puritanical American society was very pro-family, so the dolls here was of course modeled to teach girls about, motherhood and childcare and stuff like that. Okay, and at this time, the fashion dolls of the time were pretty much relegated to paper dolls, okay, which girls would cut out of magazines and play with. And this was where the inspiration for Barbie actually came. Okay, so in 1940s, the husband and wife duo, the Madsons, Howard and Ruth Madsen, started the company Mattel. Okay, and Ruth Madsen saw that her daughter was playing with these fashion dolls, these paper cutouts. And she thought that, if she could make this a 3D thing, it could really be a huge success. And so she was very inspired. On a trip to Switzerland, she saw this doll called the Build Lily doll, which was actually a sex toy. There was this cartoon character, okay, in Europe at the time called Lily, Build Lily, and she was a sex worker, an exhibitionist, and a floozy. Ooh. Okay, and she looked like this, okay? She looked just like the vintage Barbies, okay? And so she brought it back, the daughter loved it, and so she mass-produced it, and apparently this was followed by a whole bunch of lawsuits, okay? And in the end, Mattel acquired the likeness of Lily and started mass producing the Barbie dolls. And that was the first vintage Barbie, okay, looking like that. Okay, with a very high forehead, very cunty side-eye makeup, okay, and this very classic ponytail. And at this time, Barbie was supposed to be a teenage fashion model, okay? Of course, the first one that came out was the one that was just wearing a swimsuit, okay? So of course, you have to go out and buy all her outfits, and that was how you make money, okay? By, you know, giving this blank slate in this very, very classic black and white swimsuit, and then going on to dress her up, okay? And girls loved it. So Barbie has obviously evolved a lot throughout the ages. Okay, from the ponytail, she moved on to having a nice bubble cut. Okay, and this bubble cut was inspired heavily by Jackie O. So in 1960s, she of course met Ken, her boyfriend, and they started making her little Barbie universe of friends like Skipper and Midge. And she even had a celebrity friend, Twiggy, who was very famous in the UK at the time, even had her own doll. So she was actually the first celebrity friend of Barbie. I'm just going to pop on my face tapes and draw on my brows, and I'll be right back. Okay, I think these brows are a little bit thicker than I wanted, but what the hell. I don't have that much time. Okay, so in the 1960s, Barbie started to have friends, right? So as I mentioned, you had Ken, Barbie, and of course, this is one of the first Barbies of color was the colored Francie. By today's lens, of course, that name won't fly, but that was quite progressive at the time. It seems that they had a black friend for Barbie, colored Francie, although they weren't marketed very much like, you know, together. So she didn't seem like, you know, a friend like, you know, Skipper and Midge were. She had another black friend in 1969 called Christy, who had a boyfriend called Brad, I think, yeah, in 1970. Okay, going into my Rick and Morty palette, I'm going to give myself a nice neon pink crease. Okay, I'm going to use this pink here. Just stamp that into my crease. Pink crease, blue lid. Very Barbie. Very Barbiecore. Okay, I am going to bring the eye down a bit this time. I know I said cunty, but I think I want a more doll-like look today. Very nice and pigmented, this palette. Throughout the ages, Barbie just kept up with the trends, okay, with the hair, the makeup, everything. And even the occupations, she was reflecting society throughout. Okay, so for example, in the 70s, she became very hippie-ish. She even became an astronaut, you know, when they had the man on the moon, she had an astronaut, she became an astrophysicist. Okay, and in 1971, of course, that was the year the Malibu Barbie came out, okay, and this was reflecting the coastal ideal of a sun-kissed white girl, okay, with tan and bleached blonde hair. Okay, and this was a very successful Barbie. I'm going to blend this out with Spirit Fingers from the Team Trixie palette. This coastal aesthetic is something that we see nowadays also, like, you know, coastal grandma, coastal cowgirl. It seems like a very white-centric, rich Californian kind of look. Okay, I'm going to go with Take the Cake now, deepen this up. Okay, and in the 80s, in keeping with the trend, of course, Barbie started doing jazzercise as well. Okay, she started having a lot of workout outfits and everything. Okay, and of course, she started having office jobs as well to reflect the changing demographics of women's occupations. Okay, and in the 1980s is also when they introduced the actual black Barbies. Okay, so before this, they were all just friends. Okay, but now they have Black Barbie and also Hispanic Barbie as well. Okay, so they were actually called Barbie, and this was huge. Okay, and this time the black Barbie, not just a white Barbie mold painted black or spray painted black, he had his own mold, okay, with features and hair that reflected the African Americans, which was such a big thing at the time. Okay, and as the sales of black Barbies increased, they actually did have more and more demand for black Barbie, so they actually made lots of black friends of Barbie. Okay, in 1991 they had a trio of African American dolls. It was called Shawnee, Asher, and Michelle, okay? And they had some questionable marketing. Their marketing tagline had an outrageous flair for exotic elegance. It was really still quite othering the way that they were marketed. Okay, but I guess Mattel was really learning as they went along, and I'm pretty sure at the time the boardroom was just filled with cis white men. Okay, so now I'm just gonna pack on some blue onto this lid. What blue should I use? Scrape out some of this blue. and warm it up here. Okay, this kind of works. I'm just going to pat the blue on so it doesn't mix too much with the pink underneath. Okay, it's very bright blue. And I'm going to also blend it into white in the middle. So I try to look up stuff about Asian Barbies, but you know, most of these sites which I went to look in mainly talked about Black and Hispanic Barbies. Very few talked about Asian Barbies, so it's I had to do a little bit of research by myself. And basically Asian Barbies, they were kind of like snuck in with all this like racial diversity of Barbies in the 80s. Okay, I'm going to pack this girl top, this blue on my lid. This kind of a turquoise, what's it called? It's called Mash. The first like Asian Barbie was called Oriental Barbie. Okay, so they also made a fresh mold for this and gave her more Asian features. It wasn't too offensive looking. It wasn't like really slanty eyes or anything, but quite an interesting Barbie. They called it Oriental Barbie, and she came from Hong Kong, and she was basically there to teach people about travel to China. I think I need to rush a little bit. I think I need to get some black in there. Okay, just gonna outlining the liner a little bit. I'm going to smoke that out later. In 1982, there was this one called the Takara Barbie, which was a license by a Japanese toy company from Japan, but they had to rename it to a Jenny doll after this deal expired in 1986. But the first Asian friend of Barbie was Kira in 1985. Okay, it was a line of tropical dolls. She was from Hawaii. Okay, so she was an Asian doll from Hawaii. Asian Barbies are still kind of around, so I think recently they're releasing a anime Wong Barbie for this year's AAPI Heritage Month to commemorate one of the first Asian actors in Hollywood. Kind of not feeling my makeup today. I haven't done makeup for so long. I feel like I've forgotten how to do makeup. Okay, and of course Barbie in the 90s was huge. Okay, so Barbie in the 90s ran for president in 1992. This was also the time when the most successful Barbie came out, and that was a totally hair Barbie. That was still the best-selling Barbie to date. Okay, I think both James Mansfield and Vanity have both done recreations of this look recently. It had 10 inches of hair, and you could style it and everything, so that's the power of hair. It was really, really popular. Around this time was also when Barbie started having lots of collaborations with designers. Okay, the first one with Oscar de la Renta, and subsequently with all the designers, especially people like Bob Mackie. Okay, and you know, Barbie's fashion really was quite a big thing. Okay, she was actually the only object, the only non-human thing to win a CFDA, which is the Council of Fashion Designers of America award in 2019. Okay, and this culminated in things like a Moschino fashion show with Jeremy Scott and everything. Okay, I need to fix this eye off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, I think I kind of fixed it. It's quite a lot more intense now, but now I'm going in the brows. Going in quite light today because of the blonde hair. So in 2004, Barbie broke up with Ken, and this was obviously a response to all the celebrity breakups that were happening around the Y2K era, like, you know, Britney and Justin, Benefit 1.0. So of course they were, you know, reflecting society again. That was a publicity stunt. But of course it got back together about 7 years later, and that was another publicity stunt where people were voting on whether they wanted Ken and Barbie to get back together. And when they did get back together, they were commemorated with this duo doll set, okay, which has this iconic swimsuits that they first came out in. So I thought that was quite cute. Do I want to try a new contour today? I got this bronzed book by Mitchell also. Looks really, really good. So I'm going to try something a bit lighter first. I need some shade. Okay, in 2016, they introduced a plethora of body types. Okay, and that was a huge thing because, you know, up to now, Barbie has been criticized for having unrealistic body proportions. So by doing this, Mattel really listened to everyone and came up with diverse body types for the dolls. Okay, and they came up with whole bunch of 4 different body types, whole bunch of new hair colors, eye colors and everything, so people could really see themselves in the dolls. Okay, but even though they changed it, I mean, obviously society doesn't really change like just like that. We're still obsessed with the body proportions of Barbies of yore, okay? I mean, drag queens are trying to reproduce that body all the time. People like Crystal Versace, Violet Chachki, they're all, you know, binding themselves to give us this really snatched waist and everything. And I think that's what drag queens do, right? Trixie Mattel herself says that that drag is really a commentary also on unrealistic beauty standards. It's like if you look at Trixie Mattel, she always says that if you think that she's a woman, you have something wrong with you because a woman actually looks like that. And when a drag queen does it, there's this subversive thing. But you know, when it's done in a doll, you kind of like indoctrinate people into accepting these things. So I think that's where Trixie Mattel's coming from with her drag. And that's really, really, really smart. Okay, I'm gonna pop some lenses in so I can put some glitter on, and I'll be right back. Okay, got my lenses in and put my glitter in, and now I can't even read my notes. Alright, so yeah, so Trixie Mattel, of course, is the biggest Barbie fan. And she based her whole character on it, right? Trixie was actually the slur that her father used to call her, and Mattel, of course, is this emblem of exaggerated femininity. Okay, and she actually does reviews of Barbie dolls and her whole collection on her channel, so I would really encourage you to see. Okay, blush, I'm going in with this new, from Blend Bunny, these Juicy Chicks. It's really intense neon blush. Okay, melt that into the eye makeup there. Okay, using mouth watering. Okay. Quite intense. Yeah, and so Trixie Mattel, she picked name, and apparently she only educated herself about all these Mattel stuff after she, you know, established her character in drag. I'm going to draw on my lips first, but I think I'm going to set this first. Okay, and I'm going to use my new Rick and Morty Glamlite highlighter trio. So beautiful duochrome highlighters. I'm going to use this pinkish one here. Anomaly. Quite intense for this look. Barbie had a lot of controversies as well. I mean, there was one time a sleepover Barbie, or I think Babysitter Barbie or something, had a book that said, do not eat, okay, and how to stay slim and stuff like that. So very, you know, that has probably precipitated a lot of eating disorders. And of course, there was a talking Barbie who once said, math is hard. I was going to do a red lip, but I think this is too intense for a red lip, so I'm going to go for a more pinky nude. I'm going to use this Rick and Morty lip liner and gloss duo. This was reviewed by Angelica Nyquist, and she said this was actually quite pink, so I'm going to take her word for it. Yeah, so you know, Barbie has always been very aspirational, but you know, it's really all through the lens of a very consumerist machine, because you know, Barbie obviously spends a lot of money, okay, her fancy cars, her amazing houses, and she also has, like, you know, so much designer wear, okay, and women obviously striving for this is unrealistic, okay, and in fact, she bought her dream house in 1962, I think that was 1962, was her first Barbie dream home, okay, made of cardboard, and this was like a whole 10 years before women were actually allowed to have independent lines of credit. So actually, she would either have to pay it in cash, or her husband would have bought it for her. So you know, even all these, who knows? Maybe Barbie having a dream home was the catalyst to people giving women, you know, independence in spending. Okay, gonna go into this peachy. Okay, and now of course Barbiecore is back. It's only been recently till they've given it a name. Okay, so Barbiecore has always been like this idea that you could you know, have all sorts of different fashions, okay, and keep swapping your identity. A bit of like girlish access and lots of pink. Okay, of course this was exemplified by the Y2K's it girls like Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie. And even Nicki Minaj, okay, with her Barbie Tings, was subscribing to this in a very hip-hop way. Okay, I'm running out of time, so I really have to get these boobs on, put on a lash, and I will be off to the movies, and I'll be taking you with me, okay? So if I do have any more thoughts, I will jump back in after the show, okay, and put them here, okay, because I have to leave in about 10 minutes. Alright, okay, I'll see you in a bit. I'm here in the car park getting ready. Getting ready in the car park. By the Barbie. Ready to go in when Victorian Snatch as Barbie, vintage Barbie.
She was like a foil. Like,
yeah, a foil. Yeah. Now we're going to take pictures in the Barbie box.
You're going to go back. Just go stand in line.
I'm back from the movie. I actually sat through the whole movie like this, and this is my Barbie look, okay, with this lovely ponytail poodle thing. It's coming apart a little bit. Okay, my big Barbie eyes. It was okay. I think the movie was okay. It was quite expected. There's this existential crisis thing. They've tried to bring in a lot of things that I talked about today, like, you know, consumerist feminism and all that stuff, making these unrealistic expectations on women and how toxic masculinity somehow counters that part I haven't really thought about. I'm pretty sure I'll hear a podcast about it soon. Okay, yeah, so I think it was a pretty good movie. I mean, it was quite fun. I loved all the references about all the Barbies that I talked about today. You know all the Barbies, like the totally hair Barbie, and they had all the cancelled Barbies and everything. That was quite cool. I thought, the earring can and the skipper who when you moved the arm, her breast got bigger. All right, so that was the Barbie movie for me, and here's my outfits. It's made by House of Alchemy, beautiful. And I am wearing this again for next week's show, my Y2K show, because I am doing Barbiecore. Have to now. All right, and I think it's turned out pretty well. Okay, so I'm just going to de-drag now, take some pictures, and I'll see you next time. All right, subscribe. Oh, and come to my Y2K show. Bye. Videos. I did one of Y2K aesthetic here, and also I did the Baby Queen times Quabaré thing here, okay? Full show, almost full show. Watch it.